The following video may contain material that is disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion advised. Little girls are creepy. And that's probably why they turn up in horror media so often as victim, villain, or some scary combination of the two. Even things made for little girls are creepy. The dead-eyed stare of a doll, the unsettling feeling one gets when confronting the forced femininity of something overly decorated in bows, something deceptively cute and yet unnerving. The combination of innocence with a horror environment is one of the most effective ways to frighten, or at least leave a lasting impression on an audience. The whole emotion of seeing a small girl in a horror movie is like the realization that Hello Kitty has no mouth and therefore cannot scream. When you recall all the times little girls turn up in horror films, you can find a steady supply of examples throughout the decades. Why then title this presentation The Return of the Girl Monster if girls as monsters, or at least as horror elements, never really went away? While girls, both children and teenagers, are a recognizable part of horror, the girl monster has never been as frequently used as other types of preternatural entities or killers have been within the genre. Crypt TV, a YouTube channel producing independent horror content, is changing that, with 3 series featuring different girl monsters at the forefront: Shelley, Stoneheart, and Sunny Family Cult. The girl monster often falls somewhere between victim and villain, her actions excusable or explainable due to abuse she has suffered at the hands of others. Like many other tropes, the girl monster is deeply rooted in metatextual traditions within Western art, symbolizing society's fears: the loss of innocence, the loss of patriarchal control, or the dissolution of the family unit. Girl monsters and their methods of murder and mayhem reflect confusion about how to confront female agency in a society that tightly controls the behavior of girls and women. Girl monsters can be powerful, but the power often consumes them, and in many instances they did not take on the mantle of that power for themselves. Rhoda did not choose to carry killer DNA. Carrie White did not choose her telekinetic abilities. Reagan McNeil did not choose to be possessed by a phallic demon. In comparison, these new Crypt TV girl monsters are typified by choice, particularly the girl's ability to choose all or part of their transformation for themselves. But the hallmarks of abuse breeding the monstrosity remain. To understand this shift in how fears about women's agency have affected the creation of girl monsters, we first need to understand Barbara Creed's Monstrous-Feminine. The Monstrous-Feminine describes the inherent fear produced by women in relation to men, the fear of women's powers, such as menstruation or childbirth, the fear of castration, and the fear of women's sexual potential, be the woman in question sexually active or not. The female monster is often seen as the opposite of a male monster. Male monsters are feared because they destroy. Female monsters are feared by what they create. Types of monstrously feminine creatures include the archaic mother, the monstrous womb, the castrating mother, the femme castratrice, the vampire, the possessed monster, the witch. When Creed describes her archetypes of female monsters within horror, there is a conspicuous absence of a child or adolescent category, while having not one but 3 categories for aspects of reproduction and childbearing. Creed does discuss adolescent girls in regards to puberty and menstruation, again tying the monstrosity to a girl's ability to eventually bear children. Though Carrie falls into the witch archetype and Reagan is a possessed monster, as they both have powers linked to menstruation and puberty, their girlhood is not a factor in their placement in those categories. It is less that they are girls, and more that teenage girls experiencing puberty are often likened to a person possessed who must be exorcised of demons before they can enter into society in their proper place. While many interpretations use Carrie's on-screen menarche to talk about the onset of adult womanhood, or Reagan entering into puberty being the gateway that let Pazuzu take over her body, it is equally valid to highlight both characters' youth and naivete and interpret those elements as showing that they are both actively not woman. Creed uses Julia Kristeva's arguments on objection to theorize that the fear created by the presence of women is that they are seen as aberrations of men from the Freudian perspective that women are men not fully formed. The abject is something that is desired for the alluring qualities of its otherness, and yet it must be rejected or oppressed to maintain patriarchal order in society. Take, for instance, a witch or a woman vampire in any horror media. They are sexually desirable, yet immensely dangerous, imbued with forbidden knowledge and preternatural power. The notion of abjection can also be used to say that girls are further abjections, as they are aberrations of women. If women are not fully formed men, and girls are not fully formed women, then that makes girls the most fear-inducing of abject creatures. Combine that with Laura Mulvey's discussion of gazes, and you have the perfect lens through which to update Creed's archetypes to include a place for girl monsters. When the girl monster is revealed, the camera will linger on the pained faces of adults coming to terms with the realization that the girl is dead, and a monster has taken her place. A monster that will have to be killed or depowered for things to return to the status quo. The male gaze is especially punished for its scopophilic indulgences when it comes to the girl monster. Returning to the example of Carrie, during the opening scene, the male gaze lingers on the frolicking bodies within the girls' locker room with a dreamlike quality, only to be brought crashing back to harsh reality by the painful and embarrassing biological functions Carrie experiences. It is a reminder of her humanity, but it is also monstrous. With younger girl monsters, they punish the gaze of male characters within their media. The male characters that assume a position of strength and authority are often directly threatened by the existence of a girl monster. The male characters let their guards down, or try to take on a protective role, only to be attacked or killed for those assumptions. Girl monsters become a threat to masculinity, often requiring male characters to question their resolve and breaking them down to an emotional core during the confrontation. When Creed conceptualized the Monstrous-Feminine in the early 1990s, American horror films were heading towards a destabilizing period. Old slashers were reaching critical mass when it came to sequels, but it had not reached the remake reimagining overload of the 2000s and 2010s. Though the films of the period may have been criticized for feeling more formulaic than ever, the variety of films in the emerging subgenres, such as found footage, show a genre in transition. One in which experimentation was possible, but if initially successful, was instantly exploitable. By 2015, Eli Roth, who had found success in the post-teen horror cycle, and Jack Davis, along with funding from Blumhouse, created Crypt TV. Though Crypt TV does develop original content for its YouTube channel, it also supplements lulls caused by its production cycle by distributing the films of other studios. Initially envisioned as what I have termed handheld horror, bite-sized content easily distributed through mobile devices, most of Crypt TV's shorts and series feature women and girls prominently. Many women characters are written as subversions of or a response to patriarchal traditions, but they still fall into some of the same monstrous feminine types as described by Creed. The Birch, the titular monster of one of Crypt TV's most watched shorts, is an archaic mother. Fiercely protective of its young, it is a primal maternal force, that is just as alluring for its powers as a guardian as it is terrifying to behold. However, yet more of Crypt TV's antagonists and anti-heroes are teenage girls. It is not their reproductive potential or lack thereof that makes them monstrous, and though they may have mystical powers or can be conduits for supernatural entities, they can hardly be classified as simply witches or possessed monsters. There is more complexity than that because of their girlhood. A girl monster is at once sympathetic due to her age, yet terrifying for the same reason, youth leading to a lack of restraint. Let's discuss 3 such girl monsters more in depth. From the series bearing her name, Shelley is a ghost summoned to seek revenge who instantly takes fate into her own veiny hands to get revenge for herself against those that wronged her. Some horror fans lament that there is not a woman equivalent to slashers like Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers, the Silent Stalkers, or like Freddy Krueger with his wisecracking and flamboyance. Shelley is a combination of all those fan favorite qualities. While alive, Shelley's quiet demeanor and her unusually athletic frame made her the target of bullies, one of whom eventually murdered her and staged her suicide. Though Shelley does not talk as a murder-happy ghost beyond guttural noises, she possesses a flair for the dramatic, killing with relish. It is easy to forget that Shelley is still a child, that she was wronged, and that she has been abused further in death. As the daughter of an abusive alcoholic cop, Rebecca does not have many avenues to turn to for comfort. When Rebecca is shown a statue of a pony, an ancient avenging witch, she is imbued with a pony's spirit, giving her access to preternatural strength. In many instances, it is hard to tell where Rebecca begins and a pony ends when it comes to killing. Rebecca uses the blood of her first kill to fortify a pony, making sure the spirit is present in order to lure her abusive father to his death at her hands. While a pony falls into the witch category, using her powers to help suffering women, Rebecca does not fit the possessed monster type entirely. She maintains some agency when she kills, though she is distressed for good reason when a pony takes things too far. Rebecca's empathy for others who endure abuse eventually leads her to confront the feelings of helplessness she's lived with, choosing instead to reject a pony's power, even though it costs Rebecca her life. Most teenagers go through a rebellious phase. Taylor's act of angsty rebellion is to go against the murderous wishes of her family's chaos cult, the Sunny family cult, headed by her father. Taylor confides in her diary, takes selfies with her friends, wants to date, and take part in all the normal things a teenage girl is wont to do. However, Taylor struggles to make her family proud, finding the only way to do so is to become just as bloodthirsty as her father, who, though he is shown to care about his daughter, is still manipulative and violent towards her. Throughout most of the series thus far, Taylor is a normal human girl, and she does not fall into any of the pre-existing monstrous-feminine archetypes, as her monstrosity has nothing to do with her ability to procreate, nor does she possess any supernatural powers. It makes her unique as her monstrosity is entirely linked to her existence as an adolescent girl, making the case for the necessity and recognition of a girl monster archetype. Again, what typifies these girl monsters are their choices. Shelley does not choose to be resurrected, but she does choose to immediately go on her own mission of vengeance to get back what she has lost. Rebecca chooses autonomy over being a pony's puppet, satisfied with the murder she chose for herself in recompense for the abuse she had endured. Being born into a killer family cult is not Taylor's choice, but she does choose if she will kill, or if she will defy her parents and their beliefs. These new girl monsters do not need saving. Their motivations are often to save themselves. Crypt TV's approach to depicting girls as villains and anti-heroes reflects changes in society's perceptions of female agency, but their methods are not above critique. The ability to choose monstrosity, to accept the grotesque aspects of human nature, is a complex subject worthy of further inquiry. But the constant linkage of victims of abuse with that monstrosity is one that could use a little fine-tuning. In the meantime, the girl monster isn't going anywhere, except maybe in your nightmares. Sweet dreams.